The iPhone 17 Pro has to be one of the best recording devices on the market currently. Now, after owning the Action 6 camera for around 3 months, I finally have the iPhone 17 Pro. In this video, I'm going to compare the two, shooting without any sort of ND filters, looking now at the log formats and then also the normal formats within these two cameras. Starting with the new front selfie lens on the iPhone, even on their baseline models, it really had me wondering if this was good enough to do your daily vlogs. You now have the ability to shoot in open gate video. You can shoot log, you can shoot raw video now on this. And this gives you the ability to change your white balance and also your ISO in post. This is something that we haven't seen at all on any smartphone cameras until now. So this is truly groundbreaking and a step above even the ProRes that they've had now for a few years. As I do this test, I'm using my DJI Action 6 set to 4K 30, same with the iPhone 17 Pro. I'm using the Blackmagic recording app with the stabilization set to cinematic on the Blackmagic app. Looking at the framing of these two cameras, obviously the DJI camera is much wider. This is based on the fact that it is using that 15mm lens, whereas the iPhone is using its front camera one, and I completely forget how many millimeters it is, but it looks like it's roughly around 20 using the wide setting on the Blackmagic camera app. I now have the 13mm lens selected using the front side of the iPhone. Let's now compare these two. Now, the iPhone 17 Pro's wide angle lens, unfortunately this year, never received an update making it any better by having a better sensor installed in it. So it's more or less the same thing as last year. Whether or not that works for you is really up to you. But how do these both look comparing each other to one another? Did I say that weird? I feel like I did. Now going over to the 24mm lens, I've actually had to reshoot this video now a couple times because I've been noticing that the Blackmagic camera app has been putting me out of focus when recording the video. So now I've taken off my sunglasses and I'm hoping that it possibly helps pick me up at all in the frame. Let's see now if I put them back on. Will that change anything at all? Very, very strange. Now I was reviewing the footage from the 13mm lens, the front lens, and I never noticed any sort of issues with it not focusing on my face clearly. So hopefully now on this second test, it's picking me up, but that could really ruin your footage. Shooting a whole bunch of content, having the front camera facing you, not being able to see the screen on the iPhone, and that ultimately gets down to the main issue with the iPhone is that you have its best sensor, best camera on the side that you cannot see. Now this can be remedied a few different ways. I do also own a screen that just snaps onto the back through MagSafe, and you can actually monitor yourself on the iPhone using that. And this is a really great way to get around this, but that also blocks the possibility of using different SSD drives in case you want to shoot in ProRes video. You absolutely need that based on the size of the storage. So using that monitor may not even be an option unless you mount it another way. Okay, now I've switched on the normal mode of both these cameras, no more log format. And on the iPhone, I'm using the default camera app and the front camera on this. How sharp is it looking? Is it looking overly sharp? One thing I don't necessarily like about the default camera app is that it adds a lot of saturation, and I like more desaturated image, honestly. I like to be able to play with my files, and you don't really get a lot of push and pull when using the default camera app on the iPhone. Now also, how is the stabilization? Now the iPhone has an action mode as well, can use, but just in this video I'm gonna only use the basic settings for this now. How is it adjusting, going between different lighting scenarios, going in and out of this high contrast scene? After using the Action 6 for so long, there's one thing that I've really missed when using the camera, and it is having different focal lengths that are a bit narrower. I find that the action footage is just far too wide. Maybe it's okay for day-to-day vlogging, but for fine detail shots, this is where the camera really lacks. Now, while still being in the normal camera app on the iPhone and log setting turned off, just look at the scene here. You really don't see much based on the overall wide angle of the lens. You really miss a lot of context in the scene by not being able to zoom in. Now let's zoom in on the iPhone to that 1x, 2x, 4x, and then also 8x. Honestly, looking at the shot on the Action 6, could you even really see the mountain in the background? Now, this is only really possible with the newest iPhone. I find that finally it seems like you can get half decent photographs at that 4x and 8 times range, with I think them being a little more acceptable within that 4 times range because you are pushing it a bit much. But with all these different lenses combined, you really have a cinema rig in your pocket compared to the Action 6, where you can get some okay shots, but you're really lacking the range you'd otherwise get with this newest 17 Pro. Now that we've shot quite a bit of footage outside during the daytime, let's wait now till the nighttime and see how both compare against one another. Currently I have both cameras set to 4K 25 frames. How do both these look? I can tell right away looking at the iPhone that with all the lenses, it still has that really awful streaking issue. Currently I'm using the 13mm lens, and just looks atrocious, and that really is one of the things I hate about using the iPhone at nighttime. Okay, I sort of found that the Action's white balancing was really throwing things off quite a bit, so I did set it to a locked white balance of 2500, and it seems like it's doing a lot better now. Looks way better than it did just a little bit ago. All right, we have the selfie lens activated now on the iPhone 17 Pro. How does this look at nighttime? Does it hold up to the DJI Action 6? Okay, now I've switched over to the H.265 recording format where I recorded all of my daytime footage. I used mostly the raw recording format because it handles low light situations much better than the H.265 does. With this taking up so much space when shooting in RAW though, I'm not always going to be using that SD card, so it's important we also check this H.265 out. Once again, I am shooting on that front screen on the iPhone 17 Pro. Okay, now testing out the 13mm lens in H.265, and this is the rear 0.5 camera on the iPhone 17. Framing should be much closer to what it was when I was shooting on the front lens. Okay, now here in H.265 is me using the 1x camera, and right away when I switch to this, it brightens up the image quite a bit. So I also was able to lower the ISO, and that's one of the benefits of the larger sensor on the iPhone 17 Pro with its 1x. There's absolutely no reason you should be doing this, but here is the 48mm lens on the iPhone 17 Pro. All right, now after reviewing the footage, I was actually really happy with how the iPhone 17 Pro did compared to the Action 6. My eyes, I honestly like the images most often out of the iPhone. Because of this, it's going to be actually pretty hard for me to use the Action 6 over the iPhone in the future, knowing just how nice the colors are out of the iPhone and the overall functionality you have when using this. When looking at this front camera lens, I think it's good enough actually for doing vlogs, and I don't necessarily feel like I'm missing a whole lot by using this front lens, which is really awesome that we finally get a decent front lens for the iPhone. One of my major complaints about the iPhone was the light streaking, but it actually seems like it happens a lot less than it used to on the iPhone. Because of this, I actually think I liked the flares from the iPhone a little more than the Action 6, surprisingly. Now, after finally editing some of the RAW files in the RAW HQ and the regular RAW mode in 4K, I was really impressed with the flexibility of the files. You're able to actually control the entire ISO range with cameras like the Blackmagic Pocket cameras. Usually you're limited to only go up to say 100 to 800, and then from 800 to that 3200 or 6400 range. But with the iPhone, it gives you the ability to edit your ISO throughout the entire range, which is really incredible. Not to mention, you can also change your white balance in post, and that just gives you so much more flexibility than you have on the Action 6. Look at the different lenses between the iPhone. Yeah, that 0.5 camera still is not really all that great. I think it's actually pretty close to this front lens now, which is unfortunate. Would have really liked to see a better ultra wide added on this camera, especially because I shoot a lot of architecture work. Mind you, I won't be doing a lot of that with an iPhone. I have another camera for that. Now, the telephoto lens seems like it's pretty good. I won't be using it all that much, but it's nice to have. And finally, you can use it for things other than punching in on something far away in order to read it. You can actually use it. Now, for my final thoughts, comparing both these cameras against one another, obviously the Action 6 is much easier to use. So if you're a beginner, I really see the value in being able to use that camera and pairing it to the microphones. It just pairs so easily. Now, going over to the iPhone, it's just so much harder to pair microphones to it, and the Blackmagic app isn't all that intuitive if you don't really understand cameras that much. Obviously, with the iPhone, you can use that normal camera app, but everything is just so over sharpened. Even on the DJI in that normal mode with everything set to -2, I just really hate that look. And I know a lot of people are feeling the same way as I am about that. Okay, now as I close things out, let me know if you want to see any sort of tests, whether it be low light tests with the RAW modes or something like that, or maybe how I edit these videos. I would love to share that with you all. I have links in the description for both products. Go down there if you want to buy through my links. It'd be greatly appreciated. I will see you all on the next one. Thank you. Bye.